Hello, everybody, and welcome to another live interview here at Strata. We have, for I think the third time returning, if I'm not mistaken, the illustrious Christine Moran. She is my nutritionist. I am in a professional relationship with her, and it has been tremendous for my lifestyle, and I'm so happy with it, and I'm so grateful that you're here, Christine. Thank you so much for giving us your time yet again.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I love these interviews. It's so much fun.
Well, trust me, the pleasure is all mine, and I'm glad you have a good time as well. Today, we are nutrition, some habit changes, maybe how to start systematizing things a little bit better. Christine has really worked with me to develop strategies and systems to help me with my nutrition, and I found it was a game changer. And I'll maybe share a little bit near the end about why it works so well for me, but that's not really why we're here. We're here to have Christine tell us about how we can improve our health and our wellness through nutrition. Christine, before we dive into the nitty gritty, would you mind telling us a little bit about yourself for people who haven't heard of you before or met you yet?
Hi, yeah, I'm Christine Moran. I am a holistic nutritionist and a registered homeopath here in Newmarket. I am the founder of Harmony House Wellness as well. We are a multidisciplinary clinic looking after needs. I really like to focus on nutrition above pretty much everything else. Homeopathy has become a very important part of my life, obviously, but nutrition is really the base of any kind of healthcare or health that we're looking for ourselves. So for me, it's been this lifelong journey of really understanding how food can affect how well or how not so well we might be feeling, and understanding really what the food is. And I found that we've really gotten into a lifestyle that we don't really have that full understanding that maybe our grandparents had. So coming back to how do we create that lifestyle in today's society has become a really big passion to me, and simplifying nutrition as much as we possibly can.
I love it, Christine. I know you, like myself, because you've been so open about sharing it, have had your own ups and downs with nutrition. And that's one of the things that
Yes,
really has drawn me to you because you've been so open about it. And so I just want to say thank you for joining us again. And if it's okay, we'll dive into the nitty gritty.
absolutely. Let's dive in.
Fantastic. So today is really all about how do we start making habitual changes and how do we make them stick. I found for me, Christine, that systems have been really, really helpful. That's kind of a bit of a buzzwordy thing. So I guess, Christine, my first question for you is, what do most people struggle with when it comes to nutritional and eating changes specifically? Not knowing necessarily what to eat or why or how, but
I find that the biggest struggle that people are having is really creating that, making things simple. I think is, back to what we were saying. We tend to, as humans, we overcomplicate things. I think about what would a healthy lifestyle look like if it was easy, and most of us we just make things so complicated. And there actually is a term for
mm,
this, and that's a complexity bias. And this is when you make changes in almost every area of your life, or any area of your life, and all of a sudden you start thinking of ways to make that even better. And we can't just stick to one thing. It's always how do we make this better and more effective. So then we start layering in new rules and new eating guidelines, and we hear about fads, and we hear about what our friends are doing and what our partners are doing. And some people have had great successes, and we jump on that bandwagon, and we make things more and more and more complicated. I don't know, Glenn, if you've ever done that. I know I have. I used to do that quite a lot. And we need to kind of just make things really, really simple. For example, Michael Pollan, we've heard of him, his advice: eat food, not too much, mostly plants. And then what do we take out of that? Count every macro, and find the elusive perfect intermittent fasting ratio. And if it's just, if we have to choose between these two things, we will always pick the more complicated road.
yeah, it's interesting, especially for someone like me, where I already have attention challenge. I won't say it's an issue per se because it's been beautiful in some areas, but like I have attention, ADHD, whatever that means to people. I have a hard time focusing on things that I don't always like. Who doesn't at sometimes?
Yeah.
But just sometimes, and I think this kind of encapsulates what you've been talking about, is shiny object syndrome. how many people hop from one diet to another because it's the new latest fad, it's
Yeah,
shiny, it's new, and they never really get to hone in on what they need per se. This, like, stick with it long enough to see it through and see if it works. I think nutrition is one of those things where it has like a very long tail, in the sense
yes,
that you have to try and implement something for a period of time before you might start seeing some real benefits. Like, I mean, months or maybe sometimes years. But for me, that's the thing that I struggle with the most, is these new different things. And what do I do next?
absolutely. There's so much out there, and there's so many different things that can really draw us. And the benefits to most of these fads that are out there and these suggestions that are out there is that we're switching from more less of a standard American diet and more to a whole food diet. So just by doing that simple little switch and eating less things out of a package and more things in its more natural form, we're definitely going to get some results. The downside to it is we're all built differently. We have different
Mm.
lifestyles, we have different environments, we have different biological needs. So what starts off being, oh my goodness, I feel so great, long term can turn into, okay, something's not quite right. Or, right from the beginning, we get the complete opposite results of what we're looking for, because it may have worked well for one person who their needs are being addressed. For somebody else, it's complete opposite. I think we've all had that friend that has done something that, they've had great results. We try it and have the opposite results of what we're looking for.
Yeah. And so, you kind of brushed on the next question I had for you, which is, so we know that people like will struggle with some different things like shiny object syndrome, not knowing what to do
Yes.
next, all these different, the reason we have professionals who are niche and really good at one thing is because there's so much knowledge in that field to know that it's hard to learn that all ourselves and implement it. So let's take that example of, eat less processed food, natural stuff, for lack of a better,
Mhm.
for me, lack of a better term, right? And like mostly like plants and vegetables. How do people start complicating that? What are some of the things that come over people are like, okay, I have to eat more vegetables, less processed stuff. Now, way harder on myself than it needs to be.
I think one of the big things people really do is, again, they overcomplicate it. They do it by, first of all, setting really unrealistic expectations on themselves.
Hmm.
And the other thing is they try and do everything at once, which is part of that unrealistic expectation. We are not going to quit smoking, quit drinking alcohol, quit eating processed foods, no sugar, no wheat, no dairy. We're not going to do this all at once. It's just not humanly
Hmm.
possible. We're going to feel deprived. We're going to feel like, the joy in life has been taken away from us. We're going to get cranky. We're going to go through a detox, and we're going to give up. And it's, we've all had those days where we've got these plans. Okay, this is what I'm going to do. And then an hour later, it's like, oh, I didn't want to do that. Oh, well, you know what? It's over. Let's start again on Monday. Right. And it's discouraging, is what it really is. And it's upsetting. And it has that, again, now I'm upset, I'm depressed, and now I'm going to go even overboard on what I was doing before. So really simplifying really what we want to do and making it realistic for your lifestyle. If you're working a 12-hour shift and then you have to go home to your children and you need to make dinner and maybe go to soccer practice, planning to go to the gym for 2 hours every day might not be what your reality is. Planning to make this great big 5-course dinner might not be what your reality is. So making those small changes and implementing them into your life and making those more of a habit, and then moving on to another small change. uh, this is one of the best ways of really doing, a simple way of doing it is making those small changes and jumping in.
So this is an interesting concept. I'm loving the flow of this so far. So let's look at this on like maybe a timeline spectrum, because I think one way is, okay, we've got that complete habit change is now automatic. We don't even think about it. And on the
Yep.
other hand, it's like day one, we want to make some changes here. We're now starting to do that. What happens next? And it could get very, very granular, very, very quickly in terms of how we move from point A. It looks like implementing these changes. I guess
Hmm.
my first question is there a number of different changes that we can, at least from your experience, is there a number of different like changes to our nutrition that we can implement at one time
Yeah, and I think for
that
everybody that,
capped out,
oh,
or
sorry.
No, take it from there, please. Absolutely. Jump
I'm
in.
sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there. There's a lot that we can do, and it really depends on the person. If you're really looking at some of the changes we can do for nutrition, for example, getting those fundamentals down is we want to, eat within the first hour or two of getting up, and then eating every 5 to 6 hours afterwards, or 4 to 5 hours afterwards. Um, and then stopping eating at least 2 hours, but fast 4 hours before going to bed. And we want to make sure we've got a protein in each one of our meals, and we've got a fat, and we've got a carb, preferably fruit or vegetable, with each one of our meals. And then we want to make sure we've got time for planning. And some of these things, as we go through our routines, we're going to see we already do them. So they're not going to take as much of a focus. So really, putting it down on paper and journaling and really seeing where am I now, and it's not because of a judgment, it's not a fail, it's not a pass, it's not anything like that, but it's really seeing where am I right now, and where is some, where do I want to be, and what are some changes I can make to get to that goal. And this could be, I want to eat a whole food diet. This could be, maybe I'm not going to have, that bottle of pop every night, or different, I'm going to replace one of my cans of pop with a glass of water, and making those changes going through our schedule, uh, and making sure that it really works with your lifestyle.
Yeah. So I mean, it's so interesting because like I see up here, like in so many different directions my brain goes. One of the places my brain goes to kind of, and maybe I'm incorrect, so you tell me, is, if you're gonna make a change, track the changes. Like,
Yes.
and it
Yeah.
doesn't sound like it has to be complicated. It can just be like, how am I feeling? How is my energy? How is my mood? Openly, this is something that you and I did, which is like I had a tracker for not even like not even writing all my, but just waking up each day and evaluating, like, do I feel well rested today? How is my energy today? How was my energy yesterday? Right? What's my mood like? And just seeing, like, over time how that changes and progresses. And so, like, I
Absolutely.
love that as a part of a systematic change. How would you possibly know if this thing is working if you're not actively going out and tracking, measuring those changes in some way, shape, or form?
Exactly, exactly. It's impossible to know. So again, it can be as complicated or difficult as you need it to be. Everyone's different. There's so many different. I know we don't need another app, but there are so many different apps out there that can help us with this. It could be simple journaling, sitting down with a piece of paper or with a notebook, and writing down at the end of the day, getting those thoughts out so that we're not laying in bed, running them through our heads, better out than in, uh, as the famous ogre says. Um, really making sure that we get those words down so that we can see this is where I am, and this is where I can make these little tweaks, because we are the best at making excuses for ourselves.
So we've decided we want to make a dietary change or nutritional change to improve our health, our wellness, for whatever outcome goal, more energy, to feel more alive, less discomfort in the body, whatever that is. So, like, step one is there decided to make that change.
Yes,
Step two, decided, okay, these are like the one, maybe two things that we're going to start changing to impact our health. And layering on top of that, it's like, okay, how do we know if these changes are working? Well, we're going to do some simple tracking and some simple, like, reevaluation in terms of, like, how do I feel? Journaling, you mentioned, is a great one. That was a kind of a different thing. What are other things that you have found that helps some of these dietary changes stick for people?
really making it part of their lifestyle. So working with a coach, that might be a biased thing that I'm saying, but even coaches need coaches. And I think that working with a coach really is, because, like I said, we are
Sure.
really good at making excuses for ourselves. So working with the coach, they can see they're not biased in what we're doing in our lives. They're taking a look at everything that's happening, and they can make some suggestions that possibly we might not have considered. And we can look at getting some fundamentals down, but instead of the one experience that we're dealing with, there's hundreds of experiences we've dealt with. So we can possibly help you come up with some different strategies to help to stay on those goals. Because really, being being unsuccessful or feeling unsuccessful in what our goals are and what we're trying to do to get to our goals, it might be something that's not even a reality for us or not necessary. And we are often, again, overcomplicating things where we're putting our energy towards something that's really not helpful for ourselves. And if our lifestyle change, And I say that because, that way, because often we make these changes, but they're not necessarily something that we can sustain over life. And that's really what we want to do, is we want to make something that's sustainable for life. It's not just for now, the time being, unless it is for a specific situation. But in general, we want to make those lifestyle changes that are going to last the rest of our lives, create new
So,
habits.
so I love the coaching, getting the coaching piece, because I feel like what coaches do for you, what you've done for me, is a couple fold. For me, the most important things are I don't have to go spend hours of my own time researching and figuring out what I need to do next. I can go to the source for me immense. And then B, and I think this is a big thing, and I think a lot of people um, may underestimate how important this is. And I'm sure you see it in your field, and I know I see it in mine, is like that accountability factor. And even
Yes.
though I think oftentimes we don't necessarily want to just to merely be accountability partner. I mean, because we can find other people to do that. It certainly helps when you have the touch points with someone who is the professional that you are investing your money into. Because I know for me, and we talked about this, I won't make changes in my life unless, and a great way for me to get skin in the game is to invest my monetary assets into it, and then in return for that, getting the knowledge, the structure, and then the accountability has been absolutely huge.
Yeah, absolutely. It does make a huge difference. Just having, like you said, that accountability. We're not doing it. We are doing it for ourselves, but knowing that there's somebody else that can really make a big difference in our lives. Absolutely.
So, um, so what do we do with feedback here? So, because so far you've kind of, which is okay. Number one, like knowing what the goal is, and what the means, like why we're trying to get there, and then the means actually being, here are like the small changes that we're going to start implementing right now, right? And here's how you're going to
Yeah.
do them. And then the third thing being, okay, we're going to reevaluate and get, what do we do with that feedback once we have it? Like, how do we start to go about re-implementing that and making shifts to whatever like steps or system that we have in place?
I think the two things that are really important for that is, first of all, understanding deep down in the core why you want to do what you are doing. Where are you now? Where is your health? Why do you want to make a change? And what's going to happen, say, next year, 5 years, 10 years, if you don't make those changes and you continue where you
Mm,
are today? And whether this is food, exercise, work, regardless of what it is, I think that that's a really important
right.
thing, because if we really understand the why, then it's not so much, I know I shouldn't be doing this, or I know I should be doing this. It's more of a, I choose to do this because I don't want to, or I choose to do this because I do want to. And
Mm,
having those choices, we all want choices. Nobody wants to be told what they can't do. Um, People tend to really not like that. So knowing that we really have those choices, I think, is going to be really, really important, in understanding exactly why it is we want to do what we're doing. The other thing is not looking at it as a judgment. And often we take this information and we
mm,
look at it as a pass fail type thing. And that's not what we're doing. We're looking at what the facts are, so that we know where we can make those tweaks, and where we can make those adjustments to make things a little easier for us. And being kind to ourselves
mhm.
when it's not quite where we
Yeah,
can
there's
be.
really, yeah, sorry. I know there's a little bit of this. There's a little bit of lack. Thank you so much for sitting through it with us. I really like the delineation between how do I feel this is going versus like logically what do I have to do next. I think that no human is devoid of emotion. We're all emotional creatures, and some
Yes.
sure more than others. But at the end of the day, if we can look at like the objective situation in front of us and figure out objectively what's the best thing for us to do next, and then create like the next part of the system or the next steps in order to get there, that's really all there is. I think a great example would be, the coaching call that on Monday or Tuesday, sorry, a couple days ago, where I was telling you like, hey, like I'm pretty good during the week, except when I get to like a family event, I'm having a hard time like mitigating what I'm eating because I get lost in the event and I just really enjoy it. And one of the things that we talked now, what strategy or what system are we going to put in place for you that you can follow when you get to that? That's going to be objectively what you can do. And for me, that was huge because we kind of came up with like something that was going to work for me that day. Was not the thing for everybody. Just like, if I said, hey, like, can I work out? You said, yeah, work out the day before, work out beforehand if you can. It's going to help partition those nutrients a little bit better. Here's something that might help you with like the digestive portion with it. And then also follow these like other steps that we've
Yeah.
laid out in the back of your booklet for you. And so just knowing that, okay, I've got like 3 different things with these family meals that I have that I know might not be might not be. I know that I'm not ingesting the best fuel for me. Now I've got a system to help me mitigate the any problems that might come up and still enjoy it. And as you said, don't make myself wrong for whatever I eat or whatever I'm doing because I'm actively choosing to do that. And so for
Yeah.
me, like having that kind of system in place was really, really.
Yeah, I think that that's super, super important to make sure that we've got those systems in place because we can have our guidelines regardless of what we're choosing to do. We have those guidelines, but nobody's schedule ever stays exactly how we plan it to be. Things pop up, and we need to have those strategies in place to help us to be able to adapt or to accommodate those changes that are happening. What's going to happen when that happens? Because coming from somebody who has suffered with many eating disorders, without those strategies, there's always one place that leads, and that's never beneficial to me, which just creates this whole snowball effect going down of that self reproach and so on.
Doesn't feel. And so like yeah. So I appreciate the vulnerability there and thank you for sharing that. I mean, a couple more questions before we go. um what are some of the best recommendations that you can make for people to make some new habits stick?
Take them bit by bit. That's where I really start. Really, again, writing it down I find is really, really beneficial. Writing down what your biggest challenges are, writing down what are some things that you can do right now in your life to change that, to make a small change. It could be I feel tired all the time. Maybe I could drink some more water. What are some steps I can do in order to drink more water? Well, I can buy a water bottle that I can take with me. I can make it a cute water bottle that I want to take with me because I want people to see this cute new water bottle. And then I'm going to fill it up. And the advantages I'm going to get to that is I'm going to drink this water because it's right in front of me. I'm looking at it. I'm reminding myself often of it. I'm getting up, I'm moving, I'm breaking from my work. I'm really coming up with little steps that are realistic that we can do within our life to make that. And once that becomes habit, we move on to the next thing.
I love it. I think all that's so important. And I went through the whole like system there of what to do. I think the thing that sticks out to me the most out of that, this is just my personal takeaway, is it's one of those like if you fail to plan, you're going to plan to fail kind of scenarios. And
Yes.
knowing ahead of time, like here's where I'm at, here are the obstacles I know that are going to come my way. What system or strategies kind of put in place, I get to that obstacle to mitigate it best that I can and navigate my way around that is going to be crucial. And I think
Right.
that over time, for a lot of people, as they start taking new actions and the habits get more and more etched and grooved into their brain, and in terms of just this is how, excuse me, those things become simpler and simpler. So like that was my big takeaway, and I really love that.
Yeah. There's a lot that can really help with that. And, ultimately, at the end of the day, we are creatures of habit, and changing habits can be very, very difficult. So, there are
Mhm.
things that can really help. And when it comes to food, there's a lot of different, whether it be functional testing or different assessments or different things that can be done at different levels, depending on where somebody is or how quickly they want to reach their goals. There's a lot of things that we can implement to help with that food aspect. I think one of the really big ones is to really, when people are working with me, I like to focus my time. The food is not the most important thing. We've already figured out what those foods are. Well, usually through some form of a functional test or something that we've put together. Um, but for me, I really want to talk about those strategies because most of the time, those strategies will work. They will help you. Sometimes they don't. And it's important that if it's not going to help, if you end up with the, well, I don't care, I'm going to do this anyways, or I'm going to eat this anyways, and you choose to have those, and now you feel horrible and you're sluggish and you're bloated and you're not feeling so good and you're like, oh, why did I do that? Instead of beating myself up because I knew I was going to feel like this, okay, what are the events that led to me not caring about this?
Mhm.
And really assessing what could we have done differently, or what are some strategies we could have put in place to maybe try to avoid it for next time, so that we can have that better idea of what we're going to do for the next time that happens. Treat it as a learning lesson and not as a fell off the wagon moment.
That's I mean, it's great. I have a mentor who helped me with understanding like business and like selling and all that jazz early. And he said there you either win or you learn a lesson. And that's kind of
Yes.
like that's the way we're gonna take this. I was like, oh, that's really great advice. So I mean, I'm praises for a quick moment here, if that's okay. You and I initially met because we were just I was reaching out to other local professionals, seeing what they were up to. You and I connected. We get along pretty well, I like to think.
Yes.
And as I was learning more about you, I was like, this sounds like someone I might benefit from investing some of my time and money in. And we were going over different things that I might be able to do with you. And one thing that the metabolic balance program. Now I know it's not for everybody,
No.
but the thing that really stuck out for me, and one of the reasons why I wanted to do this particular topic, was because I found that like systemization, excuse me, the system is how that program works, and the structure is one of the things that I need in my life in order to move forward. As someone who has like ADHD, I need to have like steps and guidelines. So I have to think about things. So instead of thinking about it too much, I can just act and know what I have to do.
Yeah.
And then we'll reevaluate, as you said. And so, like, for me, it's been tremendous. And like you said, like, there's always going to be falling off the wagon. There's always things that come up. And for sure that's happened with me. But overall, like, I have been more focused. I have better energy. I have been sleeping better. Like, I'm really, really happy with this. You and I devised a system for me to help me move forward with my health. And it's like you said, as things come up, let's figure out what strategies need to be put in place in order to move forward with them. And it's been really, really helpful. I just want to say, like, for anyone who like does need nutrition health program, but I am saying that if you want to work with someone who um, will take into account who you are, help you look at things logically, absolutely acknowledge and understand that you are a human being with your own emotions, and help you move forward uh, amicably, the person to go to. So I just want to say, like, I'm thrilled so far. I look forward to the next few months with you, and onwards from there. And I just want to share that with everyone, just because I just want them to know that this stuff does work for
That's
sure.
awesome. Thank you so much, Glenn.
You are welcome. Before I let you go, we're going to get just 3 rapid fire questions, and openly I have to keep
Okay.
coming up with them because I keep interviewing you. So there's no curveballs this time. There's going to be some really like straightforward stuff here, and they're kind of fun. So 3 rapid fire questions. Are you ready to go?
I am. I'm ready.
Okay. So you being in the world of nutrition here, what is the best song to cook to?
Oh, anything but Katy Perry.
That's not a bad
I love
answer.
listening to Katy Perry when I'm cooking.
Absolutely. Teenage Dream and Firework are just bangers of songs,
Oh,
really high energy. Yeah, she's really, really great. Okay,
yeah.
awesome. What is one thing that you learned in the past month? Could be anything in any realm.
Oh, one thing I learned, love yourself. I know
Mm,
that's not something new, that's something, but really the power of mindset and the
mm.
power of self-acceptance. It's not something I learned in the last month, but it's something that I was reminded about. And I think that we constantly need those reminders because we get lost in our head.
Oh, for sure. I mean, learning to love yourself is a constant lesson, and you need to keep taking it in. And I appreciate that. Last one here. Best item to buy under $100. No constraints into where and when and what it is or what you use it for. Just favorite item under $100 that you bought that you think other people might enjoy.
Oh my goodness. A mini chopper.
Oh,
For bringing
like it's one of those
back
things you
to
put in a bowl and you hit the top and it chops your veggies.
whether you're doing it like that, it's the one that I have is kind of like a food processor, but it's tiny, tiny, tiny. So for things like if I'm chopping garlic or chopping an onion, a small little thing. My one of my biggest pet peeves is I hate cutting vegetables. So for me, it's I love, yeah, done. Yes.
I love it. That's a great answer. That's a fun one. Everyone go out and get a mini chopper. Um,
Anything
Christine,
that
before
helps
please
us
tell
cook at
people
home.
where they can find you.
You can
Oh
find me at
yeah.
Harmony House Wellness, or even harmonyhousewellness.ca is our website. We are available in person. We are available virtually. Both we have a variety. We always offer free 15-minute consultations. We're located here in Newmarket. You can also find us on Facebook at Harmony House Health Squad. And I would love to have you all come aboard and join us and take some of those small little steps that we can implement in our life every single week.
Christine, again, I just want to say thank you for everything you do. Thank you for who you are in the world. Thank you for helping me. Thank you for giving us your time month over month. And I look forward to seeing you again sometime soon.
Thank you. My pleasure. Thank you for having me. This has always been so much fun.
No, I agree. I agree. Likewise. Everybody, this has been another live Strata interview. Thank you so much for joining us today, and we'll see you on the next one. Take care, everybody.
Thank you. Bye.